Yo, what's going on, guys? Ron here, aka Niels, and welcome back to another replay review video. In this one here, we're going to be going over another VS K9 match, which should be thoroughly entertaining for y'all. And yeah, guys, so before we get started, if y'all would, go down below, hit that like button, hit the notification bell down below, leave a comment, hit the subscribe button, all that other good stuff. It really does help the channel out, and it lets you know when I post more content. So anyways, guys, let's get into the deck profile right here. And as you can see, we have, this is, I think, basically the exact same as the last time I showcased it to y'all. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. I think all of this is, like, super standard to play. Some people are playing, like, one Tinia. I don't think that's proper. You need the starters. Her being a free body as well later on is pretty good. So, yeah, 16 hand traps, same as I was playing last time. I played a round with a couple of the ratios, but this is, like, by far, I think, the happiest I've been with it. So, yeah. The extra deck is also exactly the same here. It's been super great. The second Seraphim has come up here and there, where the first one either gets like banished or it's hard to fish him out of the graveyard for whatever reason, right? Expending that extra resource that I don't want to. So yeah, Dragster's been broken, Omega's been broken, Crystal Wing's been killing Mirror Jades left, right, and center, which is really nice. The sideboard is pretty, I think, self-explanatory. This is for decks that summon more from the hand. This is for Branded Dracotail, so I have more options to beat the trap cards. This is like Radiant Typhoon and Rogue. Pretty nice to stop them. And also we have the 5 going first cards. This is just like basically an FTK, especially if you see Judgment. Judgment just helps with like stopping a normal summon or, you know, whatever the case might be. Call by the Grave has been pretty good when I see it. Hitting 5 mana is obviously the best, but that's usually about it. Sometimes like random Lupuses or, you know, whatever the case might be. However, the MVPs of the side deck, specifically because, like, you know, going second can be kind of obnoxious, are the Droplets and the Evenly matches. If I feel like my hand traps are not going to get a lot of value for whatever reason, whatever the case might be, or, you know, like I said, whatever, this is just like a basically surefire way that I can put in, like, basically if I want to put in like the third Perulia, take out some hand traps. This is 12 cards in my deck that are just supposed to either force my opponent's half board or remove the board, right? Just get that shit out of here. Pretty nice, and like I said, I think pretty self-explanatory. So anyways, guys, that's it for the deck profile. Let's go ahead and move on to the replays. Alright, guys, so this is going to be the first of the replay here. So here we are going first against the deck. I don't know what my opponent is playing at the moment, obviously. And then as you can see by my hand here, it's not super great. I drew the 1 brick, which is like super obnoxious. I hate drawing this card. Playing a deck that literally has 1 brick and you draw it is just super obnoxious. Like, Fortunia is a better draw here because let's say like Tinia gets like stopped and like removed off the board for whatever reason, right? Before she can activate, I could special Fortunia, place the trap card, normal this, and continue my combo for free. But yeah, anyways, here we're going to go draw standby main. I'm going to start off by specialing the Tinia. I'm going to use Tinia's effect here because I want my opponent to interact with me if they have it, right? If they don't know what the Elfnotes do, or 2, if they know what the Elfnotes do, they know I'm getting to my extender here for free, which means like if they could stop this, that way I need the extender in hand automatically. That way, like, you know, like I said, cutting me from my line as soon as possible. This does resolve, however, and then here I go ahead and normal summon the Power Patron. I've mentioned this before in other videos, but I want to be crystal clear on this. Pass priority to your opponent after you normal summon the Patron. This is going to showcase you why. Because I have quick effect priority here on summon, right? The same way that when you summon Requiem, you have quick effect priority to quick effect Requiem because there is no trigger activating, right? You're still within like the trigger window. So yeah, here I pass priority to my opponent, and they Foolos me, right? If I did not do that, right, I went effect target this, make it a level 10, or make the total levels 10. Now I have to make the Lev. And that is significantly worse into Foolos. Since I passed priority, my opponent knows I can make a synchro here. They could assume, you know, I already have the extender, or I don't need the Fiendsmith stuff, that this is supposed to bait it out, whatever the case might be, right? They have to Fool here because I can just make a synchro. So anyways, after the Fool resolves, like, that's fine. I get to make Seraphim here, right? I get to trigger the Patron to search. This is going to give me access to Lucinia, right? And this is also another good thing now that since I already have the Madness, I don't have to search Fortunia here, special her to set the trap, right? So this actually became beneficial. Um, Here I can special the Lucinia, search the Fortunia, just so I can have her in rotation in case I want to pitch her off of the trap, or I want to, use her, special her off of the Seraphium, whatever the case might be, right? And then this is where I can go ahead, reborn my Patron, and make Dragster, right? So I give my opponent 2 draws here. I get to set the Madness here, which obviously he doesn't know what it is. It could have been Imperm, it could be whatever, right? So this is another good thing, right? This is like hidden knowledge. So the only thing that he knows in my hand is Fortunia, and then I have access to all 3 names, which means that even though I'm only going to be able to see 2 of them on his turn, that means I can bounce a spell trap if I need to, which could be like, for example, the field spell for the VS K9. It could be Case for K9. There's, options, right? Especially in this matchup that Fortunia gets value. So this is a strong board here. At this point, I assumed my opponent was playing Branded Draco Tail, which is why I made the Dragster. So I just wanted to be able to check double fusion spell, which is super important. So Chaotic Elements gets activated here. I immediately know that my opponent is playing VSK9. There is no other deck that they should be playing. It could be the Crystron variation, but so be it, right? I immediately assume it's VS. So good thing is that this is a use effect on this card, so I can go ahead and bell it without having to run the risk of my opponent being able to, activate a second one for free. And then I go ahead and change Seraph here because I was going to special summon my Tinia to rip his hand. He bells it. Super good for me. Again, now that he did not know my trap was here, since it's not face up, he didn't have to save the bell for this, which is super strong for me. Right, because if I was my opponent, I'm assuming that this is Imperm, right? So that's fine. He has one of Rhoda, which is incredibly powerful here. I could have let this go, quite frankly, right? I have a way to stop the Rosin if he searches it. My issue is I didn't want him to have more fires in hand in case he had Holly Sue, or maybe he had Jiaolong, or Mad Love, or Burger, or whatever the case might be, right? I just wanted to keep him off of extra stuff in hand. So I go ahead and negate this. I think obviously negating the one of, right, is pretty fair. And then he goes ahead and just normals Rosin anyways, which is not that big of a deal because I still have the trap card here. So he goes ahead, Rosin effect. I chain this, sending the Fortunia to put her back in rotation. This is to beat Case, in case whatever later on. So I go ahead and summon the Lucini here, negate his Rosin. Rosin is also negated. I want to point out that if I didn't have to stop the Rosin, let's say this was Ash Blossom, right? Him summoning Rosin here does nothing because he cannot blow this column because of the Welcome Home. So let's say assuming I didn't hit the Reinforcement of the Army and he summons Rosin here, I could just let Rosin I can't let Rosin resolve, but I can let so I can Ash it. But if I didn't have a way to negate the entire card, the blow effect has no threat to me, right? I don't have a reason to use my full card negate. So I wanted to point that out. Here I chose to bounce the Rosin because this just prevents him from bouncing using it to make rock, and then him being able to special Mad Love from hand, or Holly Holly Sue wouldn't have mattered at this point, but I just didn't want him to be able to free extend, right? Because if he just summons rock and then summons the Mad Love off of it, I just lose immediately. So he has another one of in his hand for some reason. So I just wanted to point this out. He had Fulos, he belled my Reborn, he had Search Jokel, had Jokel anyway, so this was just going to get Lantern, and then he had one of Reinforcement Army and one of Jokel. And he had double fire. So me stopping the Rhoda was good because if he got Jiaolong out right here and him having the other Rosin in hand, he would have been able to activate Jiaolong, reveal double fire, and add a Vanquish Soul, which means he would have been able to add Holly Sue here and summon Holly Sue, and yeah, it would have been catastrophically over. So thank God I stopped that. But it really doesn't matter here because I'm just going to get cooked anyways. He's going to search the Um, yeah, he's gonna search the Azuna. He's gonna detach, get access to Lantern anyways. Set the Force Release, and like I'm just gonna like get basically murdered here, right? So he goes Nash Knight to steal, and at this point I decide to scoop because he's just gonna make the Masquerade, and I don't have a really good way to deal with that. It's really annoying because he can just like eat the Dragsters, which means I can't check this, which means he gets to free pop this and rank up into Werewolf, which like I could negate, but like he could just pop the trap card as well, which is just super terrible. Like there's just so much now that like I just lose basically, right? Because he can go. This should have been an attack position because now he could rip or beat over this, and then instead of like being able to like having to make Masquerade to beat over it and then use this to only beat over Dragster, which means like the Seraphim stays alive until it decides to pop it, which if he just rips Force Release, I can just chain the trap card. But there's just so much at this point, I decide to scoop, right? I'm like, you know what, so be it. You had like 2 1-ofs and plus the extender and everything else, so be it, right? So that's it for the game 1, guys. Let's go ahead and move on to game 2. Alright guys, as you can see here, we are at the replay for the second video, or second replay, I'm sorry. Alright guys, on to the second replay here, as you can see, and my hand is honestly pretty cracked. This is obviously the like best card to see in the deck by far. If this was like Lucina, this hand was like absolutely broken, but you know, she's still kind of an extender. And then obviously Secret Village plus Judgment, this is just like, I could probably just summon Tinia, activate Secret Village, set Judgment, pass, and my opponent probably just loses, to be honest, right? So yeah, really strong here, but obviously we're going to get Perulia. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. This is the best card to see through Perulia. So literally you can search one of your Elfnote names, and you can full combo for your Fiendsmith stuff and not give your opponent a single draw. So that's what we're going to do here. I get to see the Perulia on this top deck, which I chose to put on the bottom because when I go to summon the first one from hand, I'm going to summon another one, which means like he's going to draw it, activate it, right? And then he's going to be able to draw 2 off of my next summon, which means he's going to go +1 overall, and I did not want that to happen. Right, I would rather him, instead of like, you know, like thinning the deck, with 3 cards in total, it's only 2 cards, if that makes sense, right? Because he's got 35 cards in his deck, right? If he draws the Perulia, that's going to be 34, and he draws 2 off of my next summon, that's 32. But if I put this on the bottom and I summon twice from hand and he draws 2, he only has 33. He has 33 cards in his deck instead, right? Because he doesn't get to use the extra card to thin, if that makes sense, right? It's not super important, but it's definitely like mathematically the best way to play, right? So I activate this. Luckily, no Fuelos here, so I'm actually able to like continue my plays. And then here, this gets me to search to Lucina, which is another extender now. Worst case scenario, I summon Tinia, it gets like impermed or whatever, I could normal Lucina and search if I have to, right? I can normal over it, move it to this zone, and then search Fortunia place after I special her. So I got plenty of plays here. Here, I'm able to Fiendsmith combo, and at this point, I'm surprised my opponent like hasn't had like an interruption, right? I figured like if they would have had like a Zuna or anything by this point, they would have used it already. But they actually wait until right now. So as you can see here, they wait to Azuna right before I put the 2 6s on board. So fair enough. Here they go ahead and do this, and then I figured they were gonna make Nash Knight. They chose to make Jax instead, which is also fair. Jax is a little bit bigger, if I remember correctly. And then also, you know, they can, you know, rank this one up if they still have the quick play spell, or you know, whatever the case might be, right? This is fine. So he pops my Engraver. I'm like, that's cool. If y'all realize here, though, I have Theo Realizing Graveyard. So him choosing to do this, in my head, I'm like, okay, so there's 2 possibilities. One is there is a card in his hand, or I'm sorry, there is only one thing that I need to be thinking about, and that there is a card in his hand that needs DDD to not be on the field. And I'm like, so that's either Nib, or his only play is like Stake Your Soul, reveal a fire. Or like reveal an earth or a dark or whatever the case might be. So in my head, he's like, in my head, I'm thinking that he is like, can't let DDD hit the board because I either can't play the game or it's turning something off. If it's turning something off, he's already Azuna and Lupused me. It can't be them. It has to be Nib, and then otherwise it's Stake Your Soul. So I choose here to search, right? He gets to draw a card, which is fine. And then here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Theorealize to make this a Fiend monster, which forces the Nibiru. I don't know if he drew this or not. I cannot be for sure, but I'm going to assume that it was already in his hand. So as on the activation of this, and he realized that I'm making this, I think I said a Fire Fiend. He's like, oh, 2 Fiend monsters, I have to nib. So forcing him to nib, which forces him to nib his own Jax, which is also super nice. As you can see here, this Fiendsmith line, right, with Medius, has eaten a Azuna, a Lupus Xyz summon into a Jax, which was a pop, and then I got to eat a Nibiru. This is 6 points of interruption, technically, right? And this is through a Molcharmy. This is through a Molcharmy. Look at his hand. There's 3 cards in his hand, and he's drawn. He's drawn cards. There should be 2 cards in his hand, or I mean technically 3, since he wouldn't have like Perulia'd me, but like, guys, like insane. I haven't even summoned an Elfnote really yet. I summoned 1, and it searched the same card because I wanted to play around the Perulia the best of my ability and summon it from the deck off of Tinia. Because worst case scenario, I summon Tinia, do this, and my opponent has to go battle phase, clear my my girl because of because they can't play the game, and then I'm just gonna judgment stake their soul. So here I get super big token, which is super nice. I'm like, thanks for token, make Link Spider. Here they draw another card. I go ahead and welcome home here. I get to send the Link Spider for free now since I have an extra body. I am now synchro locked. This gives me access to placing the trap card. I get to pitch the extra Tinia, so I can trade it for the ability to synchro. And then since I have the ability to, or I have the village, I chose not to make Dragster here. Because, right, if they go draw standby main, I don't have priority. They do, which means I'd have to use Judgment or the trap card to stop it. And I'd rather have to stop a breaker instead. So this just turns it off immediately. He cannot go battle phase with Nib because of the trap card. Lots of layers here, right? So here, I go ahead and set Judgment. My opponent goes draw for turn. They have 5 cards in hand. Keep in mind, guys, like I said, we went through these 4 cards plus Nib. This is basically 6 points of interaction. I guess 5, right? Because it was summon to make this, to pop, to nib, and then I drew cards off of this, or he drew cards off of this. But yeah, so just with a monster in hand plus Theorealize, I ate 5 cards from my opponent. Very strong. So here he goes tribute normal summon from Naror, and I'm like, that's cool, bro. Die. He goes ahead and Perulias me. I want to point out as well, the Molcharmies do nothing against this deck whenever I make my board. This does nothing. The only Molcharmy that matters whenever this board is set is Meows, and nobody is playing it because there's no point. Yeah, there's no point. And you would get 1 draw because that would be off of the trap card. I just won't use Seraphim unless I absolutely have to. And then I'll leave the Lacrima engrave if I have to as well, because there's an engraver. I just won't give you the draws. So here I actually get to bait out Ghost Spell, which is also really strong here. And then since he got rid of his Nib, I don't have to worry about him threatening battle phase anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and chain the effect to rip his hand. And now he just loses because now I check whatever last card in his hand is with Rhapsodia, and he's still under Secret Village. So this is basically, it's just game over. So as you can see here, just super, super unfair. The Judgment really just sealed the deal because he needed the Naror to resolve, and I just stopped it from being summoned. So anyways, guys, that's it for the second part of the replay. Let's go ahead and move on to game number 3 and the final of the match. Alright, guys, as you can see here, we are obviously going second, and we drew basically Max C at home. Arguably this is better because this also draws off of normal summons, but as you can see, I talked about the ratios before. You want to draw like either 3 hand traps and 2 starters, or you want to draw 3 starters, 2 hand traps, right? So we are on perfect ratios here. Also, we drew like the best hand traps in our deck. I was definitely playing 3 and 3 of this because you want to see these against VS. So I draw Perulia here. He just lets it resolve, and then he goes immediately for Stake Your Soul. So I want to talk about this interaction real quick because he reveals Jiaolong. So in this specific instance, when you're playing against VS, if I only had Fulos here, I'm dropping this in standby because you don't want them to be like activate Stake Your Soul, reveal Ash Blossom, and you chain Fulos to it because they're just going to Ash Blossom it, which is just terrible. However, since I had double Molcharmi, right? Specifically 2 different ones. It works the same if they're the same one. Specifically with Fulos, Perulia maybe not so much. You just shotgun both of them, or after the first one resolves, you activate the second one. But with like the case with one of and then 2 of this, for example, you want to wait for like Stake Your Soul, since like this one, like I said, resolved, right? So like this didn't trigger a Azuna to summon or anything, right? Where he could have went like main phase summon Ripper right away, because then I would have had to use this. And then if you just have like the one Fula, you don't want them, like I said, to Ash it. So this is like proper play here. Since this one resolved, I hold the second one to respond to like a Stake Your Soul or whatever the case might be, a normal summon to Roar, whatever, right? So here, my opponent reveals Jiaolong. I'm going to chain Fua. It also resolves, and my opponent gives me a draw here. This is also perfect because now I don't have to imperm the Rosin here. I get to Ash it, right? So this also plays around like Borger or Caesar, which is also pretty nice. And then this triggers Azuna. This is a terrible play on my opponent's part. He should have Azuna'd in response to the Perulia, but I think maybe he was toggled off or something. I'm not quite sure. Makes no sense here that he did not respond to it, so that's fine. I go ahead, I draw a card, and then he chooses to drool himself. And at this point, I'm like, that's fine. If you look at my hand here, I have three combo pieces, right? This is full combo for one engine. This is full combo for both engines. This is full combo for the other engine, right? So full combo Fiendsmith, full combo for both Fiendsmith and Elfnote, full combo Elfnote. Perfect. And I have a breaker, technically. So this is like perfectly fine by me. I do not care about drawing any more cards at this point. He makes Ripper, makes Rock, adds back Rosin, pass. Super fine with me here. Not really that big of a deal. Keep in mind, guys, that Rock is also only during the main phase here. So my opponent passes turn, and then during draw phase here, I choose to imperm the Rock of the Vanquisher. This is to prevent him from 1, searching Holisu with Rosin, and 2, being able to blow my column with Rosin, right? So this imperm here is stopping his follow-up, stopping possibly at least 1 interruption, if not 2, right? So this imperm is getting double its value for 1 card. Perfect. As you can see here, also for turn, I drew another combo piece. So now I have Fiendsmith and Elfnote combo, Fiendsmith and Elfnote combo, Fiendsmith combo, Elfnote combo. I have 4 cards that just say, let's ride. So really strong hand here for me. I go ahead and start Thea Realize here because I want him to Ripper this, right? This does not matter if it resolves. I have Fiendsmith stuff anyways, and I figured he might not be willing to hit the Lurie, that he would wait later down the line for like a Engraver, which just sucks. So I would rather him just negate this because, like I said, I have 2 other plays anyways for the Elfnote stuff, and this is like the best case scenario that he hits it. So yeah. So obviously it gets Rippered. I'm like, that's fine. Now I can obviously do my Fiendsmith stuff here. I'll let this play out real quick. Here I get access to like Lacrima send Engraver, summon itself, and then here I go ahead and summon the Engraver. I do this because like Rock, I just want to get rid of the Rock, right? Obviously Rock being on field doesn't matter because it's negated, right? I could punch it for 0, which is arguably better. Just being able to, like I said, battle into it for free damage. but I didn't really think it was like super necessary here, and I was basically at this assumption because I know what's mainly in his hand, which is like rosin plus basically nothing else because he wasn't able to extend, that I should just be able to kill him anyways here. So being kind of lazy, I should have just basically just made sequence here instead, but that's fine, I guess. Here I go ahead and make Desiree. I accidentally triggered Desiree here by clicking the check mark too fast, which is my fault. So here I have to like chain to equip. Kind of unfortunate. Or did I? Maybe not. Maybe did I declare Desiree effect? Fiendsmith Desiree got targeted by Fiendsmith activated. Oh no, I didn't activate it by accident. So all good. I thought I activated it by accident. So here I go ahead. This is like, you know, one of my boss monsters hits the field. It's super big. Here I can go ahead and do the Elfnote stuff. And then here I'm just gonna like set up as minimal as I can just to like kill him, because he would have nibbed me. He should have nibbed me on the 2 here because I'm or on sequence before I fused because I'm threatening too much. But here I get to summon the Fortunia from the hand, place the trap card, and battle. This is just super duper game, right? I get to punch over this for free. He takes 3,500, 3,000, and yeah, so 3,000, and then he's at 1,500 life points, and that is game. So I wanted to bring this to y'all because this was a really good game, and it showcases like how to properly sequence into VSK9, which is arguably like one of the best decks right now. It's like right there. Like if this is Branded Dracotail, it's like right there with Branded Dracotail. And the main reason that I would argue that this is a better deck is simply for the fact it can play Shifter and Di-Fi. It's kind of like how Tempai was, where Tempai, like, yeah, you got hurt by Shifter because you just lost like a lot of your dragons, you couldn't get them back, but it hurts your opponent so much more that it's worth it for you to play. So anyways, guys, that's it for that. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the deck list one more time for y'all to see it before I send y'all off. And I'll just leave myself small. That way, like I said, if you want to take one last look at the deck profile. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please take the time to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that notification bell down below. That way you know when I post more content. And I will catch y'all in the next video, guys. Peace.